to buy hundreds of Boeing jets and billions in U.S. farm products, including soybeans. But Xi warns that tensions over Taiwan could push the two countries towards conflict. Here now is retired U.S. combat veteran, national security expert, and first responder owner, Ricoh Danielson. Thank you very much for being here.
Good to see you.
Okay, so let's talk about the trip overall with the president heading to China. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, it's a pretty spicy deal if you really think about it. You have two world leaders that are actually at the tip of the spear here with the economic frustration of the Strait of Hormuz. The United States has a lot of leverage here now, inflicting a lot of pain onto China, to making them bend the knee, bow its head, and to the power of the United States, saying, "Hey, look, if we don't come to a terms of agreement or stabilize our management agreements, we're going to continue the Strait of Hormuz and not allow you to get oil." So what that means to the Chinese government is that they have to barter and have to come to the table with a really better of a deal, right? So what I think the proposition of buying more Boeing jets, more produce, and also a farm is just a tip of the spear of it. Now, what that puts Taiwan in a different perspective is we don't want to fight over there, right? But in the same aspect, we need to be able to stabilize that region so we have control over that region.
You know, the Wall Street Journal editorial board commented on the Greek history reference that Xi made to Trump about interfering with Taiwan, implying that China is on the rise and the U.S. is in decline. So you got to imagine how that went over. How much does Taiwan really impact any relationship the U.S. and China have at this point? Obviously, it's something that is, you know, kind of this middle ground.
Yeah, so Taiwan definitely is a strategic position, also a country to be aligned with and be able to leverage. As a matter of fact, China's on the decline. It does not have a right population, does not have the right economic boost, and is very, very corrupt. The United States is on the rise. As you can see, we've actually have more oil refineries, more sustainable growth, and also independent growth now of renewable energy and whatnot. Specifically, now we're trying to control the Latin America, Mesoamerica area. So I think Xi Jinping is wrong. And it'll be quite interesting the next 5 to 10 years to see how this progresses.
Yeah, I mean, this has been quite a week as we watch these images that have come to us as we were monitoring the visit. Trump said that Xi wants to help with Iran, but insists the U.S. just doesn't need China's help at this point. So I don't know. I mean, should we take up China's offer and just kind of wrap things up or not?
No, we should not take up China with an offer, because it'll be a double-edged sword at that point.
Yeah. A lot of people feel like it comes with a lot of repercussions, if so. And also, I want to talk to you about Iran, because Trump called Iran's latest peace deal offer to the U.S. is straight up unacceptable. Iran's foreign minister says that Iran wants to give diplomacy a chance, though. You know, there's no trust there with the U.S. As far as that is concerned. So what do you think about a peace deal being reached at this point? How does it play out? How can it happen?
Yeah, so with Iran, it's more likely going to be an era or a small minimal peace time, very slowly and very surely, but a peace treaty, more likely not. Iran just cannot be trusted because they always went back on its word. And additionally, on top of that, it's going to be one of those tumultuous relationships where they want to have control, they can't have control, and they shouldn't have control.
Thank you so much for going around the horn, as we say, with all these subject matters. Really appreciate it. Retired U.S. Army combat veteran Ricoh Danielson, thank you very much for joining us. Always love having you on the show.
Thank you. Rock and roll.
Thank you. And CIA Director John